What if you could run an experiment with your own money and see what 10 years actually does to it? 10 years sounds like a long time, but in terms of building wealth, it's actually just the beginning. Most people look at their savings and see almost nothing happening. That's completely normal at first. The confusion usually starts here. People earn money, but they don't quite know what to do with it next. So let's set a clock. Year 0. You have some money, a bit of discipline, and a decision to make. Say you start with 3 small piles of modest, equal amounts. Nothing flashy, just something consistent. The experiment is simple. You're going to put this money somewhere it can actually work for you. You have two basic paths here. One is saving, the other is investing. And they are not the same thing. Saving keeps your money safe and liquid. Investing exposes it to growth and to some risk. Let's say you start with just $100 a month. That's the holy experiment. The real mechanism behind the experiment is something called compound interest, and it behaves in a very specific way. Think of it like a snowball rolling downhill, small at first, but picking up more snow with every rotation. It's not magic. It's just math. Your returns start earning their own returns over and over again. Today there are simple apps and index funds that can automate this whole process for almost anyone. But in year 1, you won't see much. Just a tiny green shoot, barely visible above the ground. The key distinction that changes everything: saving money preserves it, but investing money grows it. Keeping money under the mattress or even in a basic savings account actually loses purchasing power over time due to inflation. Every month you add to your investment jar, you're adding fuel to a fire that's just starting to catch. By the end of year 1, your growth is modest, but it's real, and it sires. Year 2 arrives, and something subtle shifts. Your original amount now was a small layer of growth on top of it. People often daydream about wealth, but the ones who build it usually start with something far more boring: a monthly habit. Compare someone who invests monthly to someone who doesn't. After 2 years, the gap is small, but it exists. Consistency is the whole game here. Showing up every month matters more than picking the perfect asset. The line doesn't go straight up, but the direction, over time, tends to be clear. Year 3, you peer inside your account, and something genuinely interesting has happened. Your contributions are still the same, but the account is growing faster than the rate at which you're adding to it. The invested pile isn't $200 of just your contributions anymore, it's $200 plus the earnings those dollars generated. The seedling is still small, but the roots are forming. This part of the experiment requires the most patience. By year 3, most people either double down or quietly give up. Winners are the ones who stay boring. At some point, and it will happen, the market wobbles. Lines go jagged, numbers drop. The people who built wealth through this kind of experiment shared one trait: they didn't react. They just waited. Every dip and every down year is temporary. The interest keeps compounding whether the news is good or bad. By year 4, you can see the data taking shape. Each bar in your chart is clearly taller than the last. 2 coins at the start is now 4, not because you doubled your contributions, but because the math did it for you. Historically, diversified market index funds have averaged around 7% annually. That's the assumption behind this experiment. Year 5, halfway point, and this is where things start to feel genuinely different. The invested stack is now noticeably taller than the saved stack, even though both receive the same monthly contributions. At 7% annually, your money doesn't just grow, it roughly doubles every 10 years without adding a single extra dollar. The little seedling from year 1 is now a real tree, still young, but clearly alive and growing on its own. The experiment at this point doesn't require much from you, just consistency and the patience to sit still. Tell a friend about this in year 5, and they'll often wish they'd started at the same time you did. Your returns at this stage are coming from multiple directions of growth: dividends, compounding. The pie is getting more interesting. Some year, maybe year 6, you'll open the app and see a red number, a loss. Your stomach drops. Give it time. Markets recover. Broad index funds have recovered from every major crash in history so far. Year 6 passes. You didn't sell. You didn't panic. You just kept the habit running. The most powerful financial habit is auto-investing, setting it and genuinely forgetting about it until it matters. Look at the bar chart now, 6 bars, each one taller than the last. It's starting to look like progress. The balance between patience and action is the real skill here, and most of the time, the right action is no action. Short-term noise of economic fears, headlines, predictions is almost completely irrelevant to a 10-year plan. Stand tall in year 6. You've done something harder than it sounds. You haven't quit. Look at the numbers closely. Year 1 growth is almost invisible. Year 5 is real. Year 10, that's where the story gets told. Year 7, you're now closer to the finish line than you are to where you started. Person A who started at year 1 has a dramatically different account than person B who started at year 5. The difference isn't in how much they contribute per month. It's simply in how many months compound interest had to work. By year 7, a disciplined investor can be looking at roughly double their total contributions, just from growth. There's a rhythm to this now. It feels less like discipline and more like identity. You're just someone who invests. Building wealth is also about protecting it. A 6-month emergency fund means you never have to sell investments at the wrong time. That emergency fund is its own kind of shield. It keeps the compounding engine running even when life throws surprises. The 2-step framework is simple. First, build financial safety. Second, let that safety fund your growth engine. Year 8. The account doesn't look like a number anymore. It looks like possibility. The line graph steepens sharply in the final years. That's compound interest doing its most dramatic work. Someone who started at 22 has a very different year 8 experience than someone who started at 32 with same effort. Very different results. Patience isn't passive. It's an active choice you make every month when you don't touch the balance. Year 8 for many investors running this kind of experiment shows early 3 times their total invested capital. This isn't about being rich. It's about building options, freedom to make choices that aren't purely about survival. Every dollar you spend today is a dollar that doesn't compound. That's not a guilt trip, it's just how the math works. Year 9, you can almost see the finish line, and the finish line doesn't truly end, it just changes shape. Goals that felt abstract at year 1, a home, financial stability, early retirement, feel reachable now. The jar is overflowing, not because you poured in more than others, but because you started and you stayed. The tree you planted in year 1 is now providing actual shade. It's doing something real, on its own, with no effort from you. 10 ticks on the timeline, each one representing a year of choosing the experiment over the impulse. Year 10, you made it. And what you have now is fundamentally different from what you started with. The before and after isn't a trick. It's just what happens when small amounts of money meet consistent time and a decent return. Person A started early, stayed consistent, and let compound interest do the heavy lifting. That turned out to be the whole strategy. Look back at those 10 years of footsteps. Every month, every contribution, every time you didn't quit was part of this. Time is the one variable in this experiment you cannot buy more of, but you can stop wasting what you have left. The most important day in this experiment is today, not year 3, not when you have more today. You don't need a finance degree, a high salary, or a perfect plan. You just need to start with what you have. 1 coin, 1 month, 1 habit. That's how every version of this experiment begins. The tiny jar and the overflowing jar, same person, same monthly habit, separated by nothing but time. Financial peace isn't loud. It looks like a person sitting quietly, knowing that their future is already in motion. Thank you for watching this experiment all the way through. That patience, you're going to need it. 1 coin in 1 palm, the simplest starting point. The experiment begins the moment you decide it does.